You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 265. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Spencer Valadez.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by The Outhouse. You can find our show and other nifty content at theouthousers.com. And if you enjoy this program, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher.
You can also rate and review us on both of those platforms.
Yes. And now, if you are a super fan of this show, or even a mild fan of this show, you have the opportunity to support us on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Comic Reflections, one word, and give us your money. Now.
Yeah, you can totally do that. There's some Patreon subscriber bonus content that we'll be putting out.
Which will just be made available, that we'll be producing as really just a reward for all listeners, as like, hey, we're producing extra content.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can have it.
You can have it for free. Not free.
Yes.
For like $1.
We're asking for donations, but you can have it for nothing, is how that's going to work for now. But at a second tier of reward, for a one-time donation of $10, although I have to kind of work out the bugs, it might be like end up being a subscription of $10. But you can manage your donation. But give us $10 and we will create an episode just for you, based on any single issue of comic books published from basically 1940 through the 80s, provided that we have it in our collections. Otherwise, it would either need to be in the public domain so we can get scans, or you would need to scan the issue and give us those images. But we would do an episode on that.
It would be fun.
That is a thing.
We'd even probably mention you by name.
Yeah, I think we would do that. And our producer Sean is in the room and is making all kinds of faces at the mention of this reward. What are you thinking, Sean?
I was thinking that like we could even just like tear apart one of these issues. Like
if you really like an issue, I can make you feel bad about liking that issue.
Yeah, let us know when you do that. Leave a note like, do you want us to destroy this issue, like not literally, but figuratively, or whatever.
Like we have that Insane Clown Posse issue.
Oh my gosh.
We never did that, did we?
You should.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, Sean and Spencer have been talking about doing this show of craft beer comics and doing it periodically, just something terrible. Don't you guys have like Insane Clown Posse and like Billy Ray Cyrus?
Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus.
That one's really good.
It's actually by my bedside right now.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna read it tonight.
So that could be a thing.
Yeah,
I think it'd be hilarious if you guys talked about that. But anyway,
so bad.
I can imagine. I read that Insane Clown Posse one. It was terrible.
Yeah, it made me feel bad.
It was like Spawn.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
Where you can't follow it.
It was very difficult to follow, and it's like these are supposed to be the heroes, and they're doing horrible things.
Yeah, it made me feel bad about myself.
Yeah, and the world is just like, ugh. Yeah. The decline of Western civilization starts with the Insane Clown Posse comic book.
It's all in those pages.
Oh God,
the prophecy.
Oh, it was just horrible. But anyway, hey, let's talk about. Yeah.
Oh, stop that.
But anyway, back to our regularly scheduled content. Spencer, we're going to start this episode talking about Arak, Son of Thunder, #4.
A tree from some dark hell.
Yes, but this was cover dated December of 1981, and according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, it hit the stands on or around September 10th, 1981. Cover art penciled by Ernie Colon and inked by Dick Giordano. Let's look at that cover for a minute, Spencer.
Yeah, let's do that.
Want to talk about that? It's great. Arak and Balda and the Burger King guy. No, I'm kidding.
Hamburger?
No. That's McDonald's.
This might actually be Charlemagne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In battle with a monster tree.
Yeah, a knight is being swallowed whole.
That's pretty cool.
By the tree and its sharp teeth. Yeah, kind of, but evil. Yeah, it's rad.
It is.
Arak has a sword rather than using his trusty tomahawk.
Yeah. Yeah, but he has it in his belt.
Yeah.
He didn't ditch the tomahawk. Come on, man.
No.
So, the story in this issue is called A Tree from Some Dark Hell.
Right.
Written by Rascally Roy Thomas.
Yeah.
Penciled by Ernie Colon and inked by Tony DeZuniga.
It's true.
Would I lie
It's
to
all
you?
right there.
I love how the splash page, Arak's Son of Thunder, the logo, is hewn out of rock.
Right.
It reminds me of the splash pages of a lot of Will Eisner spirit stories.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Our producer's checking out the
Lego advertisement. And this is when Lego was kind of like kicking up their game a notch, getting a little more, less small childy. There's some like really fancy, like go-kart or whatever.
Yeah, they have like little motors that'll, I think, run on batteries.
Obviously, this is still a small thing, not like build a giant Lego car.
Right.
But
they have all the like the sets you'd need to build it too.
Yeah.
Which is
it's pretty intense number of kits.
Legos were pretty much always been pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what you get, and I'm just looking at these, and I'm thinking, man, that's a good chunk of change to make for a car.
Yeah, let's introduce a high-end Lego.
Right.
Like, I remember these kind of things being around, but not a lot of kids that I knew had stuff like this.
Yeah.
They usually had the standard Lego.
Right.
Which were, again, not cheap already. So,
yeah.
What about Arak?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, Arak, Malajiji, and Valda have finally arrived in the Frankenland.
Wow, it only took them 2 issues.
Right. They have arrived at the Isle of Chapelle.
Ah, yes.
The Palace of Charlemagne. And as they make their way into the city, or I guess the palace, really.
Yeah.
Arak notices that a lot of the soldiers are kind of staring at him, and he mentions, "Well, is it because of the color of my skin?"
Probably.
And yeah, probably.
Sean's nodding. Yes.
And Valda, at one point, she just gets angry and rushes off with her horse and about plows through all of these foot soldiers. So they kind of got what's coming to them. They make their way into the great feasting hall. Arak and Malajiji do, and we're finally introduced to King Charlemagne, Carlos Magnus, and we're also kind of introduced to the
member of his court, like the knights of his table.
Right. And there are 12 of them. One is missing. We have a Saracen. There's another former Viking, someone from Bavaria, archbishop.
A guy with an eye patch.
Right. Valda is one of the members of the table. And we start to get this interaction between Malajiji and Charlemagne. Hey, how you doing? Kind of going back and forth, like, where you been? And you kind of get a little bit of the backstory. But Arak, who is not very tactful, tries to like speak up for himself, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And at one point, one of the members of the court notices the hammer necklace that Arak is wearing, and they kind of call him out on it, like, "Oh, he's not a Christian. I recognize that hammer anywhere. It's the hammer of Thor, or whatever they call him in Arak. I can't remember." And everyone starts questioning the loyalty of Arak because he's not a Christian. But then the Saracen kind of stands up and he's like, "Hey, look, I follow Islam, and I fight beside you whenever you go to battle, unless you're battling my brothers."
Yeah.
Like, do I not get a pass? Why shouldn't he? And they kind of like gloss over, like, "Yeah, well, we like you. We know you. You're
one of the good ones."
Yeah, you're one of the good ones."
Yeah, exposing their double standard and their inherent racism.
Exactly. And so we get this one member of the court. His name is Galleon. Oh no, it's Ganelon. And
Ganelon,
whatever.
Sure, you can say it however you want.
And he's kind of a pot stirrer. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he's going to be kind of a
recurring fart face in these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically talks another member of the court into like challenging Arak. And before Malajiji can like say anything or like calm Arak down, he's jumped from like the second tier row of chairs to the middle of the court, and he's like brandishing his weapon and yelling back and arguing. And kind of in this moment, Charlemagne realizes if he wanted to, with those kind of with that physicality, he could have jumped up here and killed me. So I don't think he's here to kill me. He's just not a Christian, so we're gonna remove him from the court.
Right.
It kind of sets up Arak. Well, you don't know me, and here's my kind of story. And so we get the story of the last 2 issues or 3 issues, and again, no one believes him, and so Ganelon, again, kind of stirring the pot. He gets Ronaldo, one of the court members, to jump into the middle of the court with Arak, sword drawn, and they're gonna kind of fight it out. Valda steps in and she said, "You can't fight him. He's not a knight. It'd be dishonorable of you." And Charlemagne's like, "Bah, whatever. You're gonna fight." And so they kind of go to they go out to the yard. Yeah. And Arak's like, I got my tomahawk. Malagigi said, "You need a sword to fight this guy." He's like, "No, I got my tomahawk." So while Ronaldo is being kind of geared up in his plate mail, some of the ladies in the crowd are like, "Whoa, hey, he's kind of a good-looking guy. Why are you gonna kill him?"
That's the chicks, yeah. Hey, wait, pause in this story because we have a Hostess fruit pie ad starring the Penguin in what's the story? Penguins on Parade.
Penguins on Parade.
Please give us a synopsis of this riveting Penguin story.
The Penguin basically uses his umbrella, which he uses for everything.
He has multiple umbrellas
to fly into the Hostess factory and steal Hostess.
Fruit pies.
Fruit pies, right. He's immediately caught. He's taken to jail.
Not even by Batman, just regular cops.
Just cops show up. Yeah.
Which, that's an embarrassing day in a supervillain's life and career.
You got me.
Supervillainy foiled by regular police.
Right.
Not even superheroes.
Oh, he was using the penguins to distract people.
Yeah, and then he snuck in.
Typical Penguin.
Yeah. You'll never win. You'll never learn, will you, Cobblepot? Right.
Then we get this double page ad for Toon Time.
CBS Saturday morning cartoons lineup from 1981. What do we have here?
The Quickie Koala Show.
Yeah.
Trollkins, the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Show.
I know of that one.
Popeye and Olive Oil Show.
Yay, Popeye.
Black Star.
Ooh, that was a cool one by Filmation. It preceded He-Man by a year. Yeah. I think that's a year or two. And it's another sword and sorcery science fiction thing.
Right. The Tarzan Lone Ranger Zorro Adventure Hour.
That's cool. Plus Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
And then Tom and Jerry Comedy Show.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. It all adds up to the Saturdazzle on CBS.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Right, so the fight starts. Ronaldo charges at Arak on a horse, and Arak does this crazy scream duck under thing, which scares the horse and throws Ronaldo off. They begin fighting.
Now, Ronaldo's in full armor.
Right.
And, of course, he's protected, but clumsy.
Yeah.
Slow.
And so Arak takes advantage of that. But at one point gets his tomahawk knocked out of his hand.
Well, that's a problem.
Right. So Valda takes her sword and throws it to Arak just in time for him to parry a thrust away from himself. And when Ronaldo comes and does the backswing, he lodges his sword into a tree, and Arak bounces away and throws his sword, narrowly missing Ronaldo, and in doing so, proving himself worthy to Ronaldo. And they kind of grasp hands in a familial way, and
they're going to be pals now.
Yeah.
So, before we carry on, there's another cool advertisement for NBC's Saturday morning lineup.
Yeah.
Single page, but I think this is a better lineup of cartoons,
Absolutely
personally.
It is. Flintstones, Smurfs, the Kids Superpower Hour with Shazam.
Yeah. I have that Shazam cartoon on a bootleg DVD because the rights are tied up. But I have it. They're bad, but it's awesome because it's Captain Marvel.
Right.
And then what is the Space Stars with New Adventures of the Herculoids.
Oh.
And Space Ghost, so right on. Yeah, it is 81. And then what else do we have?
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, The Daffy Speedy Show, Bullwinkle.
Sounds pretty cool to me. Lots more superhero action on NBC.
Absolutely. Yeah. So moving right along. In defeating Ronaldo kind of like vouches for Arak. He's like, look, he's all right. He can stay. It'll be all good. So Arak finally is able to explain to Charlemagne why he's actually come to the Isle of Chapelle.
Yeah.
And it's basically to warn him about Angelica and like the crap she's going to start stirring.
Oh yeah, way back from issues 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
I think it was it even number 2? I think it was. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
And so then we kind of get the story from Charlemagne, kind of about this evil guy who then kind of plants like an evil tree.
Wait, who was it that he fought? The evil guy.
Oh, let me see. Led by war chieftain called Windukind.
Okay.
Yeah. By far the fiercest of his breed and the wildest.
Okay. We're wolfskin.
Yeah. But there's an evil tree. The townspeople end up cutting it down. There's gold inside, but it like devours some people at the same time. But Charlemagne has made a cup out of the kind of remnants of this evil tree.
Yeah.
The archbishop had kind of like sanctified the ground, but in doing so, basically like negated the evil, and so nothing will grow there ever again.
Oh. Well, that's good, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. So nothing will grow. That's
nothing. Okay. Yeah.
That would be like when Hannibal. Oh no, when Hannibal was defeated, Carthage was crushed and stuff by Alexander's armies. They sowed salt into the ground so they couldn't grow anything there.
Right.
After they killed them all, burned everything, like they were intense, man. So anyway, I just wanted to say.
Some of the men in the court are worried that the cup is cursed. He's like, Malagigi will take care of it. And they kind of go off to... Carlos Magnus and his wife kind of go off to bed.
For sexual relations.
Basically.
Maybe.
And she kind of notices there's a thing on Charlemagne's chest. No. And so he kind of just throws out the window.
It was a sprig or whatever. It was from the tree.
Right.
He had saved it from that battle or whatever against the evil tree.
Right. He throws it out the window. It finds a crack. It begins growing in the crack. And
whilst
Valda,
the king doth slumber.
Right. Valda is kind of out patrolling, and she is attacked by the roots of this evil tree. It is grown, and Arak and Charlemagne are both awakened by a scream.
Man.
Charlemagne runs out fully nude with his sword and tries to attack the tree. The tree, fights back, and kind of this whole kind of battle with this tree starts. And finally, kind of Malagigi lights it on fire. But then the Valda and Charlemagne are released. Charlemagne's kind of hurt. But he sees that Arak is still within the flames, and he throws him this blanket. And the tree burns and burns and burns, and they don't see Arak anywhere. We then see him emerging from the fire, covered in this blanket. And we find out that it was an asbestos tablecloth.
Wow. It was like someone that, like, where did he get this?
Right, he got it from the Saracen, who the Furrow, the Saracen, gave it to him, and he uses it as a parlor trick.
Yeah,
and then he throws into the fire, and like it doesn't burn, and so everyone's like,
"Whoa!"
Amazed. Yeah, but it's just.
But he's gonna get cancer.
Yeah, but now everyone has cancer.
Yeah.
And that's how this issue ends.
Man, wait!
Everyone has cancer.
I have read so many. Like Jeff and I read a lot of the Human Torch solo stories from the Silver Age. Man, asbestos comes into play a lot.
I bet.
And especially in just early issues of Fantastic Four.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're going to take a quick promotional break, and we'll come back with Green Lantern.
Warlord Worlds, a fan podcast devoted to the comic creations of Mike Grell, including Warlord, John Sable, Starslayer, Shaman's Tears, and Green Arrow. I'm Darren.
And I'm Ruth. We hope you'll join us as we discuss the stories, characters, and art in the many excellent comics from writer and artist Mike Grell.
Warlord Worlds is available at podbean.com and on iTunes and Stitcher.
Find us at warlordworlds.com.
Trekker Talk, a fan podcast devoted to the adventures of 23rd century bounty hunter Mercy St. Clair from the pages of Trekker Comics by creator, writer, and artist Ron Randall. I'm Darren.
And I'm Ruth. We'll be discussing the stories, characters, and art in this excellent retro sci-fi adventure series, as well as having side conversations about other areas of fandom.
We hope you'll join us as we travel from the dangerous back streets of New Galuf to the depths of outer space and everywhere in between.
Trekker Talk is available at podbean.com and on iTunes and Stitcher.
Find us at trekkertalk.com.
And we're back. Now we're going to talk about Green Lantern.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we have. We have.
We have for a very long time.
Yes, forever.
Yeah, we're going to record it.
Yes, very good. This is just excellent show right now, guys. Green Lantern number 61 is cover dated June of 1968, but according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, it hit the stands on or around April 11th, 1968. Cover art penciled by, there we go, Gil Kane and inked by Sid Green. Look at that cover from it. It's pretty striking.
Yeah. Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
In a large figure in the taking up most of the page.
Right.
And in the foreground, we have Alan Scott.
Head in hand, and Hal Jordan is accusing him of
killing everybody on
abusing
Earth.
the power.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great cover.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great.
The story in this issue is called Thoroughly Modern Mayhem, written by Mike Friedrich, and this is one of his earliest writing assignments at comics. Like, he started writing comics when he was still at college.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the story is penciled by Gil Kane and inked by Sid Green, and it's just lush, beautiful stuff.
Yeah. I will say this is one of the more ridiculous issues of Green Lantern that we've read.
We've read some pretty ridiculous ones. That's saying a lot, Spencer.
Right. We begin the story with Hal Jordan and Green Lantern. A villain from... I said Hal Jordan and Green Lantern. Hal Jordan and Alan Scott as Green Lanterns. A villain from what will become known as Earth 2.
It's known as Earth 2.
Is it? We've already established that?
Yeah, Earth 2 and stuff.
Okay.
This is 1968.
Oh, right. So
Earth 2 was established in, 1961 or 2 in Green Lantern? The Flash 123.
Oh, right, yeah. Alan Scott, an Alan Scott villain from Earth 2, comes to Earth 1 and starts causing mayhem.
What's the villain's name?
Captain Challenge. And I'm pretty sure...
I think this story is his only appearance.
Right. And he is quite quickly defeated because it's not really a story about him.
Really not. We just needed an opening vignette with Hal and Alan in action together.
Right. Alan Scott heads back to Gotham on Earth 2 and goes straight back to work as a radio man. But as he's entering the building, Miss Fadden rushes up to him. There's a squabble or a fight going on in the studio. Another guy has knocked another guy out. They call for an ambulance, and his name is Tommy, and he's been kind of rendered unconscious. Alan Scott kind of wakes him up and gets him sent to the emergency room. However, as soon as he does that, he gets a kind of a transmission and like not a warning, an update that there's a robbery going on down, I think, like in a warehouse. And so he goes and he takes out the bad guys there. They each have guns, and he's just kind of getting tired of having to fight all these people. How much more of this do I have to take? He's just getting kind of tired. And this next panel is almost half a page. It's a little more than half a page, and it's just Alan Scott sweating, and like in the kind of the background or images of him fighting, and he's just tired of having to fight. So he heads back to his office, and he finds someone robbing the office. Maybe it's, I don't know. But the guy has a statue. He throws it at. Oh no, he tries to hit Alan Scott with it in the head. It just grazes him, knocks him out. He gets picked up by the police. But he kind of starts laying into this guy. Not in your life or mine. He punches him, and then he slaps him, and then he throws him against the wall, screaming, "You almost killed me." And he gets back to he ends that fight, ends up going back to his apartment or his house or whatever, and he kind of is reflecting on all this negative stuff in his life. Yeah. After he's kind of become Green Lantern, always having to fight for the good, always he's just tired of the bad people in the world. And he turns around and he's listening to the radio, and he hears that in his hometown there's riots going on for the third straight night. People have guns. The death toll in Vietnam is growing. He turns around and he notices that his own home has been robbed.
Man, Alan's having a rough day.
Yeah. And so he turns around, he grabs his ring, he grabs the power battery.
Recharges the ring angrily. Right. He does his oath.
And he shouts, "And I shall shed my light over dark evil. The dark things cannot stand the light of Green Lantern." And then he demands from his powering, "I order you to get rid of all evil on Earth that is plaguing mankind."
And what does it do?
And quickly,
everyone on Earth disappears.
Yeah.
What a dick.
And in the last panel is the ring bouncing from Alan Scott. Yeah.
Last panel of his chapter. Right. That's the end of the story, kids.
Does that deplete his ring? Because that seems like a really big task.
You would think, but it's magic. The limits are kind of...
Yeah, he has a time limit rather than a...
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
A power limit?
Yeah.
Does Alan Scott even have a time limit? Oh, no, he's got to recharge it sometime, so it must be 24 hours still. But yeah, it's limitless power for 24 hours. Huh. Yeah, that whole percentage wearing down is a thing that Jeff John introduced later.
Right.
And I'm kind of not a fan of it.
Right.
Even though I like Jeff Johns. Especially on Green Lantern.
The only person the time or power doesn't wind down for was Kyle Reiner for a time after he became Ion.
Yeah, but he sucks. I hate Kyle Reiner. And that whole Ion thing was well, let's do something to make him special so we have an excuse to keep him around.
Right.
Even though he's the lamest Green Lantern of all. Come on, Nort is more cool than that
guy. So continuing Thoroughly Modern Mayhem, Part 2. Hal Jordan is flying back from some intergalactic battle he was probably in. And for some reason, he's flying over Utah. And
cruising for Mormon chicks.
Right? And he notices that there's a massive amount of people in the Utah salt flats.
Yeah. Apparently you could fit everyone on Earth 2.
Yeah. And he's flying, and he's like, what the heck's going on? And he realizes that maybe they're from Earth 2, and so he goes to Earth 2 to find that, everyone's gone. and he goes to Alan Scott and he finds his ring, and then he goes back to Earth 1. It seems like a really roundabout way.
Yeah, this is Silver Age DC.
Right.
Just bear that in mind.
He finds Alan Scott in full uniform, like, wakes him up somehow.
I guess he was entranced or something.
Yeah, because, they're all kind of standing in line.
Yeah.
Or in, like, lines. Wakes him up, and they, like, pep talk each other. Like, how...
No, you're awesome.
Right, like,
no, you're awesome.
How Jordan's like, well, you know, when Carol Ferris said she was marrying this other guy, like, what does that have to do with anything, Hal Jordan? This isn't Hal Jordan problem hour. This is Alan Scott crisis of confidence hour.
Let me put a pin in that for a sec. The reason is, what if this is the first time you picked up a Green Lantern?
I know.
You got to know what's going on with your main character's life, even though it's not important to this plot at all.
So they do a bit of a Wonder Twin power.
Yeah, let's put our rings together because that does a thing.
A bucket of water.
Right.
You're all wet, Joker.
Yeah, they go back to Earth 2, and Hal Jordan decides, well, I'm going to figure out where this massive crime wave's coming from.
Yeah.
And Alan, like, he goes to find, he kind of figures it out a little bit, but he gets kind of a communication that, hey, he's needed back at the hospital, because that's where Alan Scott went to visit his buddy Tommy, who got knocked out. But while he's in there, he sees, as soon as he comes in the door, he sees Alan Scott just beating on these guys. And it turns out that Tommy had
gotten in with the wrong crowd.
Well, kind of, like, he'd overheard another guy at the station listening in on, like, police band,
the police band.
Yeah, and, like, they were using that information to, like, okay, while this is happening, we're gonna go rob this place away from where the cops are.
Yeah.
And then, like, Tommy found out about it, and so they were, like, they came in to kill Tommy. Like to take him out.
Wow.
And then they're like, well, sorry, Alan Scott, I gotta kill you too, but I'm gonna take a minute to tell you what's been going on. And so Alan Scott beats them up, not as Green Lantern, just as himself. And that's it.
Yeah, and then we have an epilogue where Alan and Hal, and they're civilian identities, they're on the subway, or the L train, I'm not sure.
Whatever. And they're like, Alan's like, well, I should have been paying more attention to my surroundings because of this. And he kind of gives a thumb over to this, like...
It's a public service message on the...
To conquer the world, you have to start small from PAL.
Like it's a kid wearing a sweatshirt that says PAL.
It just about says it all.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like...
Kidding me?
I know it's kind of lame, but here's the thing. The dots don't quite connect with this ending. But also, I wonder if that advertisement is, like, alluding to a specific ad campaign in, like, the late 60s.
Gotcha.
So, you know, I'm like, sometimes these cultural references are like, okay,
they date them.
Well, and sometimes they are things that are commonly known at the time, but they end up being very obscure later.
Right.
And so you're kind of like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah, so yeah, maybe it is some kind of allusion to a...
The world may never know.
Right.
All right. So that's it for this episode. Comic Reflections is recorded in Portland, Oregon, and produced by Sean Roof. Yes.
You're just the worst person.
He is so great. I enjoy him a lot.
You.
Yeah. And please don't forget to pay a visit to us at patreon.com/Comic Reflections.
I thought we were going to get our address out. I was going to be very upset.
Right.
No. That's
if
funny.
you're in Portland,
please do not come to my house.
Right. All right.
We will not have snacks.
Okay. This has been Comic Reflections. Until next time, we'll see you in the funny pages.
Xenozoic Xenophiles.
A fan podcast devoted to the comic series Xenozoic Tales.
It's a post-apocalyptic adventure series filled with Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
I'm Ruth.
And I'm Darren.
We hope you'll join us as we discuss the stories, characters, and art in this excellent comic series from creator, writer, and artist Mark Schultz.
Xenozoic Xenophiles is available at podbean.com and on iTunes and Stitcher.
And find us at xenozoicxenophiles.com.
Kalabak, Tassad, it is I, Darkseid. I command you to listen to the Who's Who podcast. Uncover the powers and weaknesses of the Super Friends so that I may destroy them.
Aquaman and Superman, Animal Man and Plastic Man, Firestorm and Nuclear Man, Batman and Hawkman, 2D Man and Hour Man.
Who are all these people, man?
They're all part of the DC Who's Who. Ultra Boy and Booster Gold, Lightning Lass and Hippolyta, Phantom Stranger, Etrick and Arizia and Woozy Winks.
Hey.
What?
What about that one guy?
What guy?
Mr. Pretzel, Mr. Lipstick, Mr. Mitzelfuzzle?
Mr. Mitzi's Pitlick?
Yeah, him.
He's also part of the DC Who's Who.
Who's Who, the definitive podcast of the DC Universe.
Available monthly at Aquaman Shrine, Firestorm Fan, and on iTunes and Stitcher as part of the Fire and Water podcast.